Chapter 2, Mishnah 10. The Mishnah continues its discussion of when an animal is considered lost. If he found the animal in an unlocked barn, he is not obligated to take it and return it to its owner, even though it is not properly guarded, because he can assume that the owner knows it is there and will come back for it himself. If, however, he found it wandering on the public roads, he is obligated to take it and return it to its owner. The Mishnah lists other factors that affect whether or not a person is obligated to return a lost item to its owner. If the animal or any other item was in a cemetery, a Kohen who is forbidden to become Tameh from a human corpse or grave may not enter the cemetery and become Tameh to take it to return to the owner. If the Kohen's father told him, become Tameh and return the item, i.e. go into the cemetery and get the lost item so that you can return it to its owner, or if, in the case of an item that was found anywhere, the finder's father told him, do not return the item, he should not listen to his father, because a son may not violate a law of the Torah to listen to his father. The Mishnah now mentions two other obligations similar to returning a lost item, which a person must also fulfill even 4 or 5 times. These are the obligation to help unload an animal that has collapsed under its load, and the obligation to help an owner reload an animal whose load has come off. If someone saw an animal sitting under its load and he unloaded its burden and stood the animal up, and then he loaded it back onto the animal, but it sat down again under its load and he unloaded its burden a second time, stood the animal up, and then again loaded it back onto the animal, even if this happened 4 or 5 times, he is obligated to unload it and load it again, because the verse states, you must surely help to unload the animal, which teaches that one is obligated to do so over and over again, as many times as necessary. Having mentioned the obligations of helping someone unload and reload his animal, the Mishnah teaches several additional details about these obligations. If the owner of the animal that was collapsed under its load walked away from the animal, sat himself down, and said to a passerby, since there is a mitzvah upon you to unload my animal, if you want to unload it on your own, while I sit here and watch. The passerby is exempt from unloading the animal, because that verse states, you must surely help with him, which implies that you are only obligated to help along with him, the owner. If he refuses to do anything, you are not obligated to do it on your own. If, however, the owner was an elderly or a sickly man who is unable to help, the passerby is obligated to unload or load the animal on his own. The Mishnah cites a dispute about the extent of the obligations to unload and load. It is a biblical commandment to help unload an animal that has collapsed under its burden without being paid for doing so. But it is not a biblical commandment to help load an animal whose load has come off without being paid for doing so. Rabbi Shimon says it is a biblical commandment even to help load an animal without being paid. A final ruling regarding the mitzvah of unloading. Rabbi Yossi Aglili says, if the animal was loaded with more than it could bear and it collapsed under its load, the passerby is not obligated to unload it. As the verse states in Exodus 23:5, if you see the donkey sitting under its load, which implies that the obligation to help unload applies only to a load that can be called its lost load, that is, a load that it is normally able to stand with.